What if I told you that Ferrari is hiding something very big? What would happen if I reveal that Lewis Hamilton could be much closer to dominate in Singapore of what official times show? Because yes, there are data, gestures, statements and very precise maneuvers that confirm that the Italian team has made a clear decision. Intentionally hide the true power of the SF25 piloted by the 7-time world champion. In the first free training session, Hamilton left a clear signal. He ended in the 4th position with a time of 1:31,480, just 364 thousandths behind the fastest Fernando Alonso. This result at first glance could be considered positive. He did not lead the table but remained close. However, it is the context and not the time that this crucial data returns. Because in modern Formula 1, the real message is not always found in the numbers shown on the screen, but in those that are hidden between telemetry lines, in the partials by sector, in the motor maps and in the compounds used. The FP2 session was the turning point. In the papers, Hamilton fell to the 10th position with an almost identical time to that of FP1. 1:31.491. But the similarity of Chronos with respect to the previous session is precisely what lights all alarms. How can it be that, in improved track conditions with more rubber attached to the asphalt and more stable temperatures, there is no significant improvement in performance? The answer is in the tires and in the behavior of the equipment. Hamilton did not make a quick representative return with soft compounds, which are the fastest for these types of sessions. The first round launched it without public explanation, and the second, although it seemed promising, was interrupted by the checkered flag. This is where Pandora's true box opens. In that unfinished return, the first 2 sectors of Hamilton were in direct line with those of Oscar Piastri, who led the session. This means that if the British had closed that turn, it would most likely have ended among the top positions. But he didn't, and Ferrari showed no concern. On the contrary, he kept silent. There was no correction of errors or search for an additional return. It was as if that session was only a screen, a choreography to mislead. This type of behavior is not new in Formula 1, but unusual at this point in the season and in a circuit as critical as Singapore. The logic dictates that on a track where the classification is key due to the difficulty of advancing, each team should be luling its configuration to the maximum and showing its true potential. But Ferrari did not. And that can only mean one thing: the SF25 is surrendering above what the team wants to show. They are hiding their letters, waiting for the exact moment to reveal them. Maybe in the classification. Maybe even later. Silence is also information. The fact that Ferrari has not explained why Hamilton aborted his fast return, nor has he spread key technical data such as tire degradation or the evolution of his setup, further feeds this theory. We are not talking about a session without relevance. We are talking about a team with a deliberate strategy. A chess play that seeks to deceive the opponent before moving the tower. In this context, Hamilton's final position in the table does not reflect its true performance. It reflects a contained action. Calculated. Directed from the Maranello wall with surgical precision. Because deep down, what Ferrari seems to be preparing is not just a good weekend. It is a declaration of intentions. And the Marina Bay scenario, with all its traps and demands, could be the perfect place to execute it. The press conference after free practices was, as usually happens in these technical tension contexts, a parade of responses, gestures and phrases that, for the trained ear, say much more than they appear. And it was precisely where Lewis Hamilton dropped a series of statements that, if they are observed carefully, act as an indirect confirmation that Ferrari is deliberately hiding strategic information. Hamilton did not resort to the usual technicalities or expressed an obvious frustration for his position in the table. On the contrary, he was serene, almost reflective, describing the day with a phrase that, although simple, carried a deep meaning. "It has generally been a good day, I enjoyed driving the car." In any other pilot, such a statement could go unnoticed. But coming from someone who has spent the last years dealing with frustration in Mercedes, these words reveal much more than a mere personal satisfaction. They reveal that there is trust. And, above all, they reveal that he is seeing something in that Ferrari that the rest has not yet understood. The most significant thing was when he said that, "It is the first time that I drive a Ferrari on this track and I have always wondered all these years, seeing the cameras on board, what would be the differences." This statement, apparently anecdotal, hides a tactical layer. 4 years from his position in Mercedes, Hamilton studied this track in every detail, observing carefully the Ferrari onboards, trying to detect what Maranello's cars made specials in a circuit as technical and demanding as Marina Bay. Now that he has finally been able to experience those sensations from within, he acknowledges that the experience was positive. But it does not go into details. It does not mention specific characteristics of the car. It does not allude to improvements in the chassis or suspension. He simply says it was positive. And that is precisely what makes it suspicious. This type of calculated language is common when a team does not want to give clues. When a team has found something that could make a difference but is not yet ready to share it with the rest of the paddock. From the psychological point of view, Hamilton's attitude suggests that he knows perfectly what the plan is. And the most interesting thing is that he accepts it. He is not impatient to go out to mark the best time in training. You are following Ferrari's score with surgical precision. It is participating in a shadow game, where the objective is not to stand out on Friday, but to position itself strategically for Saturday and Sunday. Beyond his statements, Hamilton's body language also spoke for him. There was no tension on his face, no signs of discomfort with the car. On the contrary, he showed confidence, a tranquility that does not correspond to a 10th place in the FP2. In the past, when there were really problems of tuning or imbalance in the car, its frustration was evident. This time not. This time everything seemed to be part of the plan. And if that were not enough, the internal sources of the team, although careful, have suggested that considerable improvements in both configuration and absolute performance have been made during practices. But at the same time, those same sources refuse to provide details about the fastest sectors or the tire degradation data. This selective silence is not accidental. It is a perfectly structured strategy. In a sport where information is power, not sharing certain technical data is as relevant as sharing them. In short, we are facing a scenario in which the objective data does not fit the real sensations, where the position in the timetable hides more than it reveals, and where public statements are used as tools to divert attention from true focus. Ferrari is not showing all his cards. And Hamilton, as a new main actor in this millimeter strategy work, has become the ideal channel to transmit that sense of controlled calm. As if he knew that the real show has not yet begun, and that the best is yet to come. In addition, if the SF25 is really as refined for this type of path as hidden signals suggest, Ferrari could be preparing a perfect technical ambush. A surgical attack during the classification, where they suddenly reveal the true rhythm of Hamilton, taking its competitors by surprise and ensuring a position in the front row. From there, on a track like Singapore, career control passes to your hands. Undercut, traffic management, race pace, everything becomes favorable if the car is well balanced and the pilot in front. So the question now is not if Ferrari has a rhythm. The question is when they will decide to show it. Formula One has always been a speed, precision and strategy game. But when a team like Ferrari decides to remain silent, hide information and build an ambiguity wall around one of its most emblematic pilots, which is at stake, goes far beyond free practices. What is hidden in Singapore could be the key to triggering a completely different narrative in this 2025 season. And that narrative is called Lewis Hamilton. What we have witnessed this weekend is not an anomaly. It is an intentional, measured and calculated tactic that has the power to alter the dynamics of the championship if it is executed with surgical precision. In a circuit where to advance is practically impossible, where the classification defines the opportunities and where the degradation and the rhythm of career dictate the destiny of the points, any marginal advantage becomes pure gold. Ferrari seems to know, and that's why he is operating in the shadows. But beyond the technical, there is an emotional component impossible to ignore. Hamilton is starting to fit into Ferrari as a piece that should always have been there. His gestures, his words, and his way of adapting to the car are not those of a pilot who is trying luck in a new team. They are those of someone who understands the process, who knows when to accelerate and when to stop, not only on the track but within the mental game that is modern Formula One. And that, at this point in his career, is more valuable than any aerodynamic improvement. If Ferrari has managed to find a configuration that adapts as a glove to Hamilton, and if the SF25 really has the performance that the signs hide, we could be before the turning point of the entire championship. A moment that will be remembered not because of what happened, but for what was insinuated without showing. And this is where I want to invite you to participate. Because this story is not built alone. You need your opinion, your critical gaze, your analysis as a fanatic or serious fan of this sport. Do you think Ferrari has really found the key? Do you think Hamilton is simply following a prefabricated narrative, or is he really about to recover his best version? How far this union can go between a historic pilot and a legendary team? Let it know in the comments.